Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday. I'm Grant. That's Botond. You know what time it is. We usually start at 10, but we're going at an hour early today because we don't want to compete with the games. We want to watch the games. You guys want to watch the games. And we're going to predict who's going to win them now. And then we're going to move on to some awards. Usually it's like best player, MVP. That's not how they do it in Hungary.
No.
We're going to do it a different style. How are we going to do it, Botond?
Well, today it's my honor to announce that we will give some really great awards for the most pathetic performance, for the worst coaches, for the worst players, and after all, we will give the Golden Fumble award away.
The first ever Golden Fumble.
First ever Golden Fumble. Yeah.
Okay, so before we get to all that excitement, we're going to start with the picks. So in an hour, we got Colts at Bills. Botond, how do you see this one playing out? And then I'll give my pick after you.
After all, I think that the Colts are a pretty great team, but I'm concerned and I don't see how they can beat the Bills right now. I think it's going to be an easy Bills win, but I don't think that they can surprise me or something like that. It's easy Bills.
Yeah, I was looking at the Bills. When I look at the playoff matchups, I don't like to look at like season rankings because that goes back to games in September and October. I like to look at the last 5, 6, 7, 8 games, something like that. And I was looking at the Bills. So they've won 6 in a row, I think, and they've won by 10 points and then 10 points and then 11 points and then 29 points and then 29 points and then 30. They're hot. They're really, really good. I do think the Colts are maybe even a little underrated. They're 11-5. They have a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense. They have a future Hall of Fame quarterback who's behind a good offensive line. They got Buckner. I think it's going to be a closer game than people expect. I don't think the Bills are going to win by double digits like they normally do, but I think the Bills are going to win. No upset there. No upset there. All right, we're in agreement. Let's move on. Next game today, Rams at Seahawks. What do you expect here?
I think it can maybe surprise some other people, but I do think that the Rams can win that game, and I do think that they can do it quite easily against the Seahawks because for the last games everything just set up for the Rams and they were great. Aaron Donald is back to his best form. I think that McVay does a decent job as an offensive coordinator, and I think that they can beat that Seahawks. That Seahawks is not so great as they seemed like this season. Their secondary is bad, just bad. We saw that first game against them when we played against them, and we had a great chance to beat them just because of their secondary, because they are not as good against deep passes as it seems like. So I think the Rams can beat them. No matter who is playing that quarterback.
I didn't expect you to say that. I think the Rams are going to lose no matter who's playing at quarterback. And I could be wrong here. Goff may not play. He has a broken thumb. He broke it against the Seahawks a couple of weeks ago when they lost 20-9 to Seattle. The Rams defense is just great. They got Aaron Donald. They got Jalen Ramsey, who will do a great job on DK Metcalf. They have a terrific coordinator. It's the number one defense in the league. Not necessarily the last 6 or 7 weeks, but over the full season. I just don't really think much of that Rams offense, no matter who the quarterback is. It's a slow offense. They used to have Sammy Watkins and Todd Gurley who were explosive. Now, Cam Akers is kind of explosive. Cooper Kupp isn't explosive. Robert, I don't know. It's just kind of a methodical, plotting offense. And to me, the Seahawks defense has gotten a lot better. Jamal Adams doesn't play much in the secondary. He's like a blitzing, pass rushing linebacker, and he has 9.5 sacks. He's probably the best blitzing safety I've ever seen. And then Carlos Dunlap has helped the defense. It's actually been a good defense the last few weeks. So I'm going to say Rams. I'm going to say Seahawks in a close one. So we disagree on that one. That's interesting. Yep. Let's move on. How about the night game? Bucs at Washington.
Well, I will do my first bold today because I do think that the Washington football team can win this game, and it's just because that we saw that before, that the Buccaneers struggled against elite defenses. And Washington does have an elite defense.
It does. It's extremely light.
And okay, Alex Smith is not not the greatest quarterback of all time, but he can win games just by being reliable, and that's all he does. He is reliable. I think that is going to be enough against the Buccaneers.
He's 5-1 this season, Alex Smith. Now he may not play this game.
Yep.
He's got a sore calf. He played week 17. They haven't said yet. If he doesn't play, it's a little early. If he doesn't play, then Taylor Heineke would start. The guy's had one career start. You'd be picking Taylor Heineke over Tom Brady. It is bold. I'm with you, though. This is my upset special as well. I look at this matchup. I'm looking at Washington's defense. Forget Washington's offense. Washington's defense, I think, is the best defense in the league. The last 7 games, they've given up less than 16 points a game.
Yep.
They're crazy. That front four is great, and it's deep. It's a lot like the Niners defense was last year, and it's healthy. So what I've seen from the Bucs this year is their left tackle freaking stinks. Donovan Smith. Good right tackle, Tristan Wirfs, but Donovan Smith is awful. The offense forces Brady to hold the ball longer than he did in New England. He gets hit a lot. He doesn't like getting hit at his age. And once he starts getting hit early in the game, they lose. So I think what Washington can do is hit him, keep the game low scoring, try to win the time of possession on offense, and win a game like 20-17, 20, 21, 20, something like that. I think now if Alex Smith played, it would give him a much better chance to win. But I'm picking Washington too. Good call. How about Ravens and Titans?
Well, that's an interesting one as well, because if we remember last year, the playoffs, nobody gave a penny that the Titans will be as great in the playoffs as they were in the playoffs last year. And what we know about the Titans is that even though they are not playing nice-looking football, even though they are not going to have as many explosive plays as you would expect from a playoff team, but they have everything to stop that Baltimore Ravens. I think.
Look, yeah.
But,
so you're
but
leaning
on the
Titans?
other hand, Big Golden Nuggets has the point. The point that the Titans doesn't have the defense, but they can just control the game by running the ball.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets about Derrick Henry, and
That's what they did last year.
that's a monster.
Yeah.
That's a monster. He can win that game single-handedly. That's
And
what
he
I
did
think.
last year. I mean, they played in in the playoffs last year, and the Titans won 28-12. Now, the Ravens had 530 total yards in that game and scored 12 points. If I remember correctly, Lamar Jackson did throw 2 picks, but he was the whole offense. I think he threw for 385 yards and ran for 140 or something like that.
Yep.
So you're not going to win a playoff game with one guy having to shoulder that much of the load. Mark Ingram didn't do anything in that game. Gus Edwards didn't do anything in that game. And that's why they drafted J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins went for 160 last week. He's way better than those other guys. Now I feel like the Ravens actually have a 2-headed rushing attack that they need, and they're going to win. Also because the Titans defense is no good, and they're going to give up I think the Ravens are going to do whatever they want on offense. But I thought they were going to win last year, and I'm always surprised when Lamar Jackson loses in the playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, has he won a playoff game? Yeah, he's won one. I don't know.
Just one.
Bears at Saints.
I think that's the hardest for me, because although I like the Saints and I do want Drew Brees to be successful in his last years in the league, because I'm pretty sure that he deserves that second ring. I don't know, because against the Saints in the playoffs, everything can happen. We saw that we saw that before last year against the Vikings, before against Rams. I don't know. I would pick the Saints just because of the talent pool that they have, and just because Sean Payton, because that guy is a genius.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. That's the hardest decision for me, and I would say Bears, but it's just because the bad luck that the Saints has every single year in the playoffs.
All right, Big Golden Nugget says Saints in a blowout. Trubisky will turn into a pumpkin. I I think the Saints in a blowout as well. But not necessarily because Trubisky's going to turn into a pumpkin. I think Trubisky's just going to be himself, which is a pretty mediocre quarterback. He's not going to do enough. He's not going to necessarily lose the game. Well, he might. But I think the Saints are going to score 35. Maybe I don't know. I just don't think that the Bears are any good. I mean, I don't. And I think they should fire their head coach. And so, yeah, I think the Saints are going to win. I don't really have much to say about that. Last one, Browns and Steelers.
Before this week, I was a guest in a Hungarian podcast, and when they asked me about this game, I said the Browns. But after further thinking, after that COVID situation that they have right now, I must say that the Steelers will win, and they will win really, really badly. So I can expect about 20 points of difference between the two teams.
Yeah, I forgot about the COVID thing. That's a killer. Sorry. I mean, that's a terrible word to use, but that's going to ruin the Browns in this game. Also, I mean, these teams played each other a couple of weeks ago, and Pittsburgh won. I don't really think much of Baker Mayfield.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm picking Pittsburgh. All right, let's move on, man. Let's get to the awards, the illustrious Hungarian 49ers 2020 awards, starting with the worst coach on the 49ers. Who was the worst coach on the 49ers?
Well, it was hard because what everybody expected, I think, when they read or when you said the name of this award, they saw that I would say Kyle Shanahan, because I critiqued him so much this season. I always found a bad call or a bad decision from Kyle Shanahan, but he showed some great things this season as well. What didn't make us forget all those mistakes that he made, but I think that this season the worst coach wasn't Kyle Shanahan, but it was John Benton.
Ooh, that's what I had. Yep, that's what I got right here. John Benton, the offensive line coach. Why, Botond?
Well, should I explain that? Just look at this offensive line right now. I think that if you are just looking the performance that they did this year, it was I can't find the word. It was so bad.
No, the word is embarrassing. Embarrassing.
Yeah, it was an embarrassment, I think. Yeah, it was.
They got
pathetic.
2 quarterbacks hurt.
Yeah, it was pathetic, I think.
Pathetic. They led the league in quarterback hits allowed by about 13. Wasn't even close. They got 2 quarterback hits, 2 quarterbacks hurt. Mike McGlinchey lost like 30 pounds, and his technique is disgusting. Laken Tomlinson is the most overrated player on the team. He wins awards every year. He got Jimmy hurt. Big Golden Nuggets makes a good point. Shane Day. I'd have to say it's neck and neck between the quarterback coach and the offensive line coach. It's almost like the chicken and the egg. Yep. Which one's worse? Who's responsible for the pressure? The awful offensive line or the awful quarterbacks? That's a tough one. But both of them would be 1 and 2, 1A, 1B. But I'm going to go with the offensive line. I mean, come on. They got the quarterbacks hurt.
Yep. So if they are not going to fire John Benton this offseason, I think that then we can talk about the next year's award from the greatest mistake that the front office did. I will give them a Golden Fumble award next year if they are not going to fire John Benton.
They should fire John Benton. I'm going to say it right now. Kyle, look at me. Fire John Benton. Hire George Warhop. He used to be the offensive line coach for the 49ers. He coached Joe Staley when Joe Staley was young. He's bounced around the league. He's one of the only, if not the only, African-American offensive line coaches in football. He's fantastic. The last couple of years, he was with Jacksonville. Doug Marrone just got fired, so you might be able to get George Warhop. I'm telling you right now, he's better than John Benton. Listen to me, Kyle. I got a name for you, and if you don't get George Warhop, Robert Saleh might get him. Fire John Benton. And fire Shane Day, too. I don't know who you want to hire as your quarterback's coach. Matt Schaub, he just retired. Maybe Jeff Garcia's hanging around. I don't know who you got. Maybe you get Rich Scangarello back, but none of these guys could be worse than Shane Day.
Nope.
All right.
None of them.
Let's move it on. The worst non-player unit.
Well, it was also a hard decision because the players' health and performance team and the strength and conditioning team were head to head. But after that interview, when Shanahan said that the doctors messed up something in Shanahan's knee, in Sherman's knee, and after that all our players had some setbacks this season, who we were waiting to come back to the team. I must say it's Ben Peterson and the player health and performance team.
I agree. I'm not gonna criticize the training staff for the lack of off season, because there were restrictions that was really out of their hands, and the players kind of needed to take care of themselves. But yeah, I mean, for 2 years, it's the word setback. We've heard it like 50 times. Oh, it's going to take him a little bit longer to come back. What happened, Ben? This is a guy they got from the NHL. He had 0 football experience. And yeah, I agree. Ben Peterson's staff. It's a good call. Let's move on. The worst player on the defense.
It wasn't so easy because there wasn't as big embarrassment on the defense as it was sometimes on the offensive side of the ball. But I chose Arik Armstead, although I liked him, and I liked him because if you are getting paid as much money as he got paid this last offseason, I think you should at least make about 5 or 6 sacks in a season, or have a momentum in every game. Just one play, a pressure, negative yardage tackle, a sack, or something like that. But the thing is that all of us expected him to be the next leader of that defense, because he has the most experience of these guys, and he played alongside DeForest Buckner. So we wanted
older than Buckner. Yeah, you're right. And it wasn't him; it's Warner. You're right.
Yep, and we expected him to be our next leader and an elite player on the defensive side of the ball, but he wasn't. And that's why, although it hurts, because I liked him so much as a player, and I wanted him to stay with the team.
All right, well, here's the thing. Armstead certainly is the biggest disappointment on the defense. It's not even close. But I'm going to disagree with you that he's the worst player. I think Javon Kinlaw is worse than him. I think Eric Armstead, a decent run defender at D end and a decent pass rusher from the interior. I think he's a better pass rusher than Javon Kinlaw. This is a better player. The worst player on the defense for me, I mean, we're talking full-time starters, not backups, who are, not Brian Allen. That's different. Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, I felt he wasn't as good as people thought he was last year. He was playing behind the best pass rush in the league, and it made him look good. This year, that pass rush was gone. He got exposed. He was playing 14 yards off wide receivers on 3rd and 7. I mean, his whole thing was, I'm not going to get beat deep. I'm not going to get beat deep. And then they culminated with that game against Dallas where he was missing tackles. He was making business decisions. He must have given up 2 touchdowns. I thought Richard Sherman's play was shameful this year. And thank goodness he only played 5 games, really. And the Niners lost 4 of them. It was tough he was ruining a top 5 defense, Richard Sherman.
Well, what I think of this about Richard Sherman right now is that he didn't even had time to get into rhythm this year. So he is a veteran.
And he was hurt. So
fair.
What's Armstead's excuse? What's Armstead's excuse? So true. All right, Richard. Hey, if you were playing through injury and you're hurt, you bounce back next season, I apologize in advance. Eric, you have no excuse. Play better next year. Good call. And from what I heard, he really was hurt. So, worst player on offense.
Everybody expects me to say that it's Mike McMuffin, but it wasn't him. I must say it was Trent Taylor, the official mascot of George Kittle. And that's all. He was pathetic. How can he be in the NFL? That's my question.
Don't know because he's George Kittle's friend.
Yeah,
but I'm George Kittle's friend. Why can't I be in the NFL? I mean, if that's all it takes, he's my dog.
Yeah, and just to answer Big Face Cavs, question before that, if I remember well, he said that it's Tevin Coleman. I wouldn't say Tevin Coleman because he was hurt most of the season. I don't say that he isn't. It's just because I want to be fair with other people. Craycraft was way better than Trent Taylor this season, and
He really was.
That's the thing that says all about the performance of Trent Taylor. He was pathetic as a punt returner, as a kickoff returner, and as a receiver as well. So I just can't see that he has a place on any team's roster next year.
I think Trent Taylor's a really good pick because people forget he was a starter to start this. I mean, he's not a starter, but he was the slot guy.
Yep.
He was the number 3 receiver. And that first game, the guys who got the targets were him and Bourne, right? I mean, the receivers, because I think did Ayuk play? Did
Nope.
Debo play? I don't think either one played.
Nope.
So, yeah, Trent Taylor, that's a good one. I do think that Mike McGlinchey's in the running, though. If you take out, because I don't think Trent Taylor actually started any games. Mike McGlinchey started 16 games, and he was the worst right tackle in the NFL. I believe. I mean, people say he's a good run blocker. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's overrated. George Kittle makes him look a whole lot better than he really is. When he gets to play alongside George Kittle, the right side of that Niners offensive line can move people and run. When Kittle's not there, McGlinchey is just a 285-pound tackle who runs pretty well because he's 285 pounds, but can't move anyone and gets thrown around. No. He stinks. Daniel Brunskill's a better player than him. Laken Tomlinson, a better player than him. Yeah. Colton McKinnis is no worse. Justin School is no worse. So, yeah, those ones.
Yeah, but I will give him an award later. So,
okay, all right.
Wait for it.
Saving some for you. Worst player on special teams.
If it's Trent Taylor again.
Yeah.
But I would
no,
say
it's not actually. I got another one. No, you go ahead. You finish. I'll say my guy because I got a good one too.
But at the end of the season, Robbie Gould was quite close to him.
Yeah.
And Pettis was also close to him, but we traded him. And we had some problems with the long snappers. So I think that if I had to,
the long snapper.
If I have to choose from the 3 phases of the game, I have to say that our worst phase this season was the special teams. You just can't lose games
so
because
bad.
Of special teams.
And how many times they lose it because of special teams? Hey, so wait, Kyle Nelson's in the running. Dante Pettis is in the running. They are definitely candidates. And Dante Pettis' punt return, my goodness. Well, we're going to come back to that in a minute. But hold on. What about Richie James Jr.? That dude fumbled twice.
Yeah.
Twice. And now he has fumbled 5 times in his career. And he's really only touched the ball I mean, Richie James Jr., that guy lost a couple of games with his fumbles. Dallas and New Orleans. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Worst signing of 2020.
At the start of the season, after 5 games, I thought that it is going to be Trent Williams. But after that, he played decently, and I had to choose another one. And it was Jordan Reed. But I can say that if we are thinking about Arik Armstead, that he was not technically a free agent last offseason.
That's a signing.
A signing. Then I must say that it was Arik Armstead.
It was. That's the right answer. Because look, people are saying Ezekiel Ansah, Tom Compton. Those signings aren't going to hurt the 49ers for years to come. You don't understand how expensive Arik Armstead is about to be. You don't get it. It hasn't even started. His cap hits this year was like $6 million. He was a bargain. In a couple of years, he's going to be 21, 22. Ooh, yeah, Arik Armstead. They can't move on. That was a terrible, terrible signing. I understand getting rid of. I don't understand getting rid of DeForest Buckner. But if you feel like he's too expensive, you want to trade him and get the draft pick, fine. Why are you paying Eric Armstead for 1 year of production? Come on. What did you think was going to happen? This was so obvious. That was a bad decision. The Buckner one I can kind of understand, even though I wouldn't have done it. The Armstead signing him is just bad. It was just dumb. 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 All right. Most pathetic performance of the year.
It's Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah.
That's
the whole season.
No question. It was a Hall of Fame season for from those players who were the worst in this league, I think. And right now we should say after this year's performance is one of the worst performances ever in the history of NFL.
Right, because like you could point to, I was going to say like Dante Pettis's kick return. Like that was the most pathetic kick return I've ever seen. Or you could say Brian Allen's half against the Dolphins. It was probably the worst performance, the worst half of football any cornerbacks had in the season all year. But Mike McGlinchey has like a 15-minute highlight reel from 16 games of him getting thrown on his back. So, yeah, I mean, like Pettis has that one play. Allen has that one half. Mike McGlinchey has a cool 15 minutes. So, yeah, it's got to be Mike. That's the most pathetic performance of a player. And he was the 9th pick. So, yeah, that's pathetic that he ended up playing like that.
Yep.
Pathetic. Michael. And what makes it more pathetic is that he doesn't think it's pathetic. He'll come out and be like, yeah, I got a couple bad plays this year. No, dude, you had like 77 bad plays this year. All right. The Never Say It Can't Be Worse award. Explain this one.
Well, I would say Mike McGlinchey again, but
no, but isn't the spirit of this like a backup that you wanted to come in and replace the starter who ended up being worse than the starter?
Yeah, I can say Nick Mullins as well.
He would be in the running. He would be in the running for people who said it couldn't be worse than Jimmy Garoppolo, but I don't think many people said it couldn't be worse than Jimmy Garoppolo. I was thinking like people who said it couldn't be worse than Dante Pettis as a wide receiver. Well, I think River Craycraft is just as bad, if not worse. And the fact that River Craycraft gets targets is only because Dante Pettis is on the Giants. If Dante Pettis were out of the league, I don't think Shanahan would feel compelled to keep forcing the ball to River. But River is the reason that Dante isn't on the team. So I would put River in there.
But I would place another game here, and it's a whole game, because when I thought of this award, I thought that I should find a moment this season when we saw that it can be worse. But you know what? It could be worse, and it was the game before we played against Cowboys.
Oh, the Washington game.
And it made it so much worse.
Yes.
So much worse. After that game, a part of my soul died, I think.
I can see it. You haven't really been the same. You're still trying to recover. You're still looking for it. Least valuable player on the team.
Some people will disagree with me, but I would say it's right now. I can say it's River Craycraft, but it's not. I think if I'm thinking of a most valuable player, I call our player a most valuable player because of his performance all year, and we don't have as much as a sample size of River Craycraft being bad. Mm-hmm. So who I thought that would be a great candidate for this award is Richie James Jr. And it's because all those games that we lost just because of him.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm thinking about it this way. Like, who has the least trade value on the team? Like, Mike McGlinchey really sucks, but he was a first-round pick. He's an offensive tackle. You might be able to trade him for a 6th-round pick or something. So he has value, I guess, even though he's terrible. Who literally has no business in the NFL? Like, who is on the Niners team that if he wasn't on the team would be like selling cars or insurance? And that to me is just Trent Taylor. I mean, that guy Should not have been in the league. I mean, he should have had 1 year in the NFL. That rookie season was fine. He got hurt. Goodbye. He should have been selling Mercedes-Benz this season. So here's the thing. I did a little research on how bad, how terrible Trent Taylor is. Okay. This season, he had 21 targets. He caught 10 of them, and there was 1 pick. The quarterback rating when targeting Trent Taylor this year was 39. Now, if a quarterback throws nothing but incompletions, his rating is 39.6. So the 49ers quarterbacks would have been better off just throwing the ball away into the ground to the sideline than ever throwing to Trent Taylor this year. That's his legacy in the 2020 49ers. Player in the team. In the league, maybe.
Best of the worst.
In the league as a favor to George Kittle. Like, hey, man, keep your friend one more time.
But we discussed this before that he can be a perfect PV team coach.
Hey, the next Wes Welker, right? Remember when people compared him to Wes Welker? What a slap in the face to Wes Welker. Wes Welker's actually like good. Okay.
Yep.
The greatest disappointment of the season. This is a tough one. There's some serious disappointments.
Arik Armstead. No question. Arik Armstead for me, because I know what you thought, who I will say when we are going to talk about this, because I was so hard on Jimmy Garoppolo. I've never had a good word about him this season, and when he was bad, I was the first one who criticized him just after the first game, after that that famous roller coaster effect against the Cardinals. So I could say Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was hurt again, so it helps him out from this situation. So who disappointed me the most this season was Arik Armstead, because I did so that he is going to be great and he can be a elite pass rusher this year again. But okay, he was great against the run, but
he wasn't great against the run. He was okay. He was decent. Yeah, he's fine. I'm not going to give him that. He was definitely disappointing this year.
Yep,
no question. But what I'm saying is, was he the greatest disappointment? I don't know if I put him number one. It's a good answer, but let me try to argue for people who were even bigger freaking disappointments than Armstead. Like, I'll give Armstead this. At least he played 16 games. I'm setting the bar real low for him. Okay, real low. D Ford played 1 game, Botond, and I think makes more than Arik Armstead. Like D Ford, and I'm not saying he's dogging it. I mean, he really probably is hurt, but they got nothing from D Ford. They got like 300 snaps, and they paid him like $35 million. My God, that is a big disappointment. Probably Jed York's biggest disappointment, because he's the one writing those checks to that guy. And then finally, well, go ahead.
Well, I've never been a fan of D Ford.
Right, so you're not disappointed.
Because he was just part for the team for 1 game this season. It was not a disappointment. It was just what I've expected.
That's fair. And then finally, I'm not going to let Jimmy off the hook. Jimmy did get hurt, but Jimmy bears some responsibility with that. It's a terrible offensive line. He gets hurt a lot. He got hurt right away. And then he got hurt again. He only took 12 hits all year. That's not a lot. Nick Mullins took about 60 and eventually got hurt. You're going to get hurt eventually. But 12? Got hurt twice? Couldn't come back the second time? What I see from Jimmy is a guy who has zero feel for how to defend himself on a football field anymore. Like, when the pocket breaks down, he's chasing his tail. He looks scared. And then when he does get hit, he seems like he gets hurt. Like, his body just isn't built for the collisions anymore. So yeah, it would definitely help him if he had a better offensive line. But what a disappointment he was. He was supposed to make the year 2 Matt Ryan leap. People thought he had more in him. I think everyone now looks at him as like, well, yeah, 2019 is him. That's the best he's ever going to be. Maybe he'll get back to that level, maybe not. Whereas like 6 months ago, people were like, oh, no. This is the year where he's going to be the MVP. And forget Tom Brady. Forget Aaron Rodgers. People used to say that, like, who cares about Aaron Rodgers? Why would the Niners try to trade for him? Who cares about Tom Brady? If he wants to sign here, let's stick with Jimmy. The Niners could have had Brady, and they didn't get him because they were like, we want to see a little more from Jimmy. So Jimmy's a big disappointment.
Yeah.
The domino effect of him being on this
team. I can't argue with that, but well, it's the same with D Ford. I didn't expect him to be so great.
True. Neither did I. But here's the thing. I didn't expect Armstead to be so great. I really felt like I saw this coming a mile away. But maybe I didn't. I don't know. Golden Fumble Award. Let's end here. The Golden, and explain what the Golden Fumble Award is, because this is prestigious in Hungary.
Well, when I found out this award, it was because I saw our last game against the Seahawks, and our last moment was a fumble.
Yes.
And what I thought of is that it's just explains and just shows us everything this season. It's just our season, that fumble. It collects everything, all the frustration that we had before, and it's just the top of our worst season in the past 2 years, past 3 years. I wasn't as disappointed 2 years ago when Jimmy was hurt at the start of the season, because to be honest, I didn't expect the 49ers to be a playoff contenders. But that's why I called our most prestigious award the Golden Fumble. And I think that two people from the 49ers organization deserves that prize, and those two are John Lynch and Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan or Kyle Shanahan?
Oh, Kyle Shanahan. Sorry, Kyle Shanahan.
Dang.
I'm sorry.
Going straight to his pops. All right, why?
Well, in the past few years, we didn't talk about all those bad decisions just because last year we made the playoffs.
That's right. 2
years ago, we thought that we are not going to be in the playoffs just because Jimmy Garoppolo hurt himself.
Yep.
But this year, we are near to a financial black hole, as I wrote down onto Twitter. We have so many needs that we didn't solve this year, and so many problems that we talked about all year. And the end of last year, a lot of people wrote about that. So that's why I think that they deserve that Golden Fumble Award, because Jed York may be the head of this organization, but I don't think that he has any word when these two are making football decisions.
Right. I mean, the decisions Jed has made the last 4 years is to hire these two and to extend them. Hiring, fine. Extending, bad choice. But that's all Jed's really done. I mean, I make fun of Jed. He hasn't done much. This is on Kyle and John. And over the last 4 years, they've had bad luck, but they've made so many bad decisions that have contributed to the bad luck that they're really to blame more than anyone else in the organization, more than just luck. I did an article yesterday on the 36 worst decisions those two have made the last 4 years. Can I go through them real quick? It'll take me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, 36 worst decisions the Niners have made since 2017 in chronological order. 1, not seriously evaluating Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson in 2017 because Kyle Shanahan wanted to sign Kirk Cousins in 2018. Mahomes went on to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl last year, while Cousins signed with the Minnesota Vikings in 2018. 2, signing Brian Hoyer to be the starting quarterback in 2017. That was horrendous. 3, trading up for C.J. Beathard in round 3 when Steelers running back James Conner was available. Legendary. 4, drafting Solomon Thomas with the 3rd pick of the 2017 draft instead of Watson, Mahomes, Jamal Adams, Christian McCaffrey, Marshawn Lattimore, Marlon Humphrey, or Tre'Davious White. Botond, this pick here might be the worst pick in NFL history.
Yep.
A lot of people talk about draft busts like Tony, a lot of guys.
Russell.
Marcus Russell, all those guys. But this guy, I mean, Solomon Thomas was picked in front of Mahomes and Watson. And it's really given the Niners next to nothing. So he's in the running. Worst pick of all time. 5, trading up to take Reuben Foster with the 31st pick in 2017 instead of taking Ryan Ramczyk, Budda Baker, Curtis Samuel, or Dalvin Cook. 6, signing Malcolm Smith to a 5-year, $26.5 million contract in 2017. 7, drafting Akello Witherspoon in the 3rd round, 1 pick before the Saints took Alvin Kamara, and 3 picks before the Rams took Cooper Kupp. 8, trading up in round 4 to take Joe Williams instead of Marlon Mack, even though Williams had retired once from football and wasn't on the Niners draft board until Shanahan insisted they take him. 9, giving Garoppolo a record 5-year, $137.5 million contract after just 7 career starts instead of franchise tagging him. Garoppolo tore his ACL 3 games into his new contract and has missed 23 games since he signed it. 10, not drafting quarterback in 2018. 11, drafting Mike McMuffin with the 9th pick in the 2018 draft instead of Minkah Fitzpatrick, Colton Miller, Derwin James, Tremaine Edmonds, or Jair Alexander. 12, trading up in round 2 of the 2018 draft and taking Dante Pettis instead of DJ Chark. 13, signing Jerick McKinnon to a 4-year, $30 million contract. 14, extending Marquise Goodwin's deal for 3 years after just 1 good season in 2017. 15, trading a second-round pick for D Ford and giving him a 5-year, $85.5 million extension, even though they knew he had a history of back and neck injuries, and now back and neck injuries could force him into another retirement. 16, giving Quan Alexander a 4-year, $54 million deal mere months after he tore his ACL. 17, this one might be a little nitpicky, but drafting Deebo Samuel instead of A.J. Brown in round 2 of the 2019 draft, even though Samuel had an extensive injury history in college and Brown didn't. Samuel has missed 10 games in 2 seasons. Brown has missed just 2 and has 2,000-yard seasons. Maybe that's nitpicky. 18, drafting Jalen Hurd instead of Terry McLaurin in round 3 of the 2019 draft. Hurd has never played a game. McLaurin's a baller. 19, drafting Mitch Wishnowsky instead of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or a quarterback. 20, not drafting a quarterback in 2019. 21, not cutting Pettis in 2019. I'm not done. 22, giving Tevin Coleman a 2-year, $10 million contract in 2019 when the 49ers already had Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, and Jeff Wilson Jr. 23, not starting Mostert in the Super Bowl. 24, not playing Wilson over Coleman in the Super Bowl. 25, not cutting Richard Sherman after he got torched in the Super Bowl. 26, trading DeForest freaking Buckner to the Colts for a mid-first-round pick. 27, using that mid-first-round pick on Javon Kinlaw instead of an offensive tackle, such as Tristan Wirfs. 28, giving Eric Armstead 5 years, $85 million contract extension after 1 good season. 29, not getting a new center in 2020, even though the Niners knew Weston Richburg had a torn patella. Richburg hasn't played since and may never play again. 30, agreeing in 2020 not to franchise tag Trent Williams in 2021. Williams is set to hit free agency and the Niners may not get him. Yep. 31, cutting DJ Reed and keeping Beathard and Trent Taylor instead. Reed is now a quality defensive back for the Seahawks, and Beathard and Taylor are on their way out of the league. 32, not cutting Pettis sooner in 2020. 33, not drafting quarterback in 2020. 34, not cutting McKinnon or Coleman in 2020. 35, not making Wilson Jr. a featured running back until midway through the 2020 season. And 36, not signing Tom freaking Brady when he asked to join the team. That's what I got.
Well, you covered it well.
I don't know if I missed anything, but that's a lot, man. That's like 9 a year.
Yep. And that's why I thought that I should choose them because
I think you had the right pick.
They deserve that Golden Fumble award for all the past few years, all these mistakes. Some may not realize that, but right now, the 49ers, all the needs that they have and all those holes in that roster, all those free agents are in a really bad situation financially. We are talking about trading up in the draft. We are talking about trading for Deshaun Watson, but for Matt Stafford, for Matt Ryan. But to be honest, every single one of those moves would put us near to a financial disaster, and that's something you should consider. And that's why I'm not a big fan of trading up.
Yep.
Or Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Or
Agreed.
Anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of trading for a right now starter for Deshaun Watson, for Matt Stafford or for Matt Ryan, because I do think that these things would be mistakes for this team with all these holes, all these free agents. We just can't afford that. And if we are going to make these moves, I think that would be the most horrifying mistakes that these two can make this offseason.
Look, I wanted to give my Golden Fumble award as well, but you got it. I mean, you nailed it. That's the answer. My answer was silly, so I have a new award that I'm giving out. It's called the Denim Jacket Award, and it goes to Dante Pettis. I mean, we really need to give Dante Pettis some props for this year. This dude had like one good day in training camp. Like he caught like 4 passes in training camp, and then got a press conference the next day. And went on for like 15 minutes about how all these people had wronged him and he was turning his career around. And when he had this triumphant comeback later in the season, he was going to sit down again and name names and said who had wronged him and explain all this stuff. And then week 1, he gets 1 target. He doesn't really make an effort to catch it. He doesn't get a target again. He gets 1 more opportunity to play. It's a kick return. He catches the ball and like tiptoes up the field and gets knocked into Vallejo and then gets waived. Oh my God. Denim Jacket Award goes to Dante Pettis for inspirational performance.
And I think that he's runner-up for the Armchair QB Award as well, because he is after that interview. I've never heard that happened, but after you mentioned it, I'm quite surprised. But I haven't written it down, but I would give an award for the greatest social media hero this season, and I think that award goes to Mike McGlinchey. I know you are still here.
Tweet of the year,
watching us.
Tweet of 2020, man. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's another award.
I liked it. All right, guys, the games start in 10 minutes. Let's go. Let's go take 3 Jaeger bombs and have a good time. What do you say? I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go have some oatmeal and a little coffee. So we'll talk. We'll be back at the end of the day. Maybe we'll reconvene at the end of the day. Botond, go to sleep. It's late.
it's just 7 p.m. here in Hungary. So.
That's late. You need your sleep. All right. I'm just kidding. Have a good night. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.
Have a good day. Goodbye, guys.